Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Hello.
Today, we're getting into some pretty significant potential changes to UK immigration policy.
Yeah, the ones proposed by Keir Starmer and the Labour government.
Exactly. We've been looking at recent Guardian reports, their live blogs, analyses, and also the government's own white paper details.
Right. Trying to piece together the full picture.
So our mission for you today is really to get a handle on what these changes actually are, the arguments flying around, and I suppose what it all might mean.
For the UK and for migrants themselves, yeah. It's a package that could really shift things.
Okay, let's start with something that really sparked a lot of reaction. Keir Starmer's comment.
The Island of Strangers line.
Yes. He said the UK risks becoming that without tougher immigration policies. That certainly landed with a thud, didn't it?
It really did. Almost instantly, there was criticism, especially, perhaps surprisingly, from within Labour.
Like Nadia Whittome.
Exactly. Labour MP Nadia Whittome, she called it, I think the phrase was, scaremongering of the far right.
Strong words.
Very. Her point was, look, migrants are our neighbors, friends, colleagues. Blaming them lets the real culprits, landlordism, inequality off the hook. That was her argument.
And others echoed that, right? I remember seeing comments from Afsana Begum.
Yes, even though she's suspended. She talked about being proud of her diverse East London constituency and, well, wanting an end to the whole hostile environment.
Jeremy Corbyn weighed in, too.
He did. His take was more systemic, pointing the finger at the economic system favoring corporations, not migrants, as the source of problems.
And it wasn't just Labour folks finding it problematic.
Oh, definitely not. Max Wilkinson, the Lib Dem MP, said he was disappointed, and it reminded him of Theresa May's Citizens of Nowhere speech and the fallout from that.
That comparison keeps coming up.
It does, and Carla Denyer from the Green Party said it sounded like something from the Reform UK Trump playbook.
Wow.
And maybe the strongest language came from John McDonnell, another suspended Labour MP. He called it the language of Enoch Powell.
Gosh, that's a very heavy comparison.
Extremely. He called it shockingly divisive. And we also heard Kat Smith, another Labour MP, saying her constituents were actually contacting her, upset about it.
So a real backlash, particularly from the left and within his own party structure, sort of. How did the government actually respond to all this heat?
Well, the official line, mainly from Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, was that Starmer was just making a point about integration.
About needing to speak English.
Essentially, yes, that was the justification offered. And another minister chimed in saying the comment wasn't meant to be anti-migrant.
But that specific phrase, Island of Strangers, it does have echoes, doesn't it?
It inevitably does. It's very close to Powell's infamous strangers in their own country remark. That historical context just hangs over it, giving it a really difficult resonance. You can't easily separate the phrase from that history.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A very loaded choice of words. Okay, let's pivot from the rhetoric to the actual nuts and bolts, the proposed policy changes themselves.
Right, the white paper stuff.
Yeah. Two big things seem to stand out. English language requirements and how long you need to live here for settlement.
That's right. Let's take English first. Currently, for many visas, you need about a B1 level.
Which is intermediate.
Yeah, intermediate. The proposal is to bump that up significantly to B2.
B2. That's upper intermediate, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like A-level standard.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a noticeable jump. And crucially, they're saying this wouldn't just be for the main applicant.
So dependents too. Partners, maybe older children.
The reporting suggests, yes, dependents as well. Starmer's justification was pretty straightforward.
If you want to live in the UK, you should speak English. That's common sense.
Okay. Common sense is the claim. But what are the sort of potential knock-on effects of setting the bar that high? Does it risk excluding people with valuable skills, but maybe not top-tier English yet?
That's exactly the question people are asking. Someone might be a brilliant scientist or engineer, but maybe their English isn't quite B2 level when they first arrive. Does this block them? It's a practical point. And the other big change. The time it takes to settle.
Yes. Currently, the standard route to permanent settlement, or indefinite leave to remain, takes 5 years.
Okay.
The proposal is to double that, make it 10 years.
10 years. Wow. That's a long time to wait for security.
It is. And again, the plan seems to be for this to apply across basically all main immigration routes: work, study, family visas, even adult dependents.
Right. So a much longer period of, I suppose, temporary status.
Yeah.
What are the government's stated aims here? Why make these changes?
Well, the headline goals are pretty clear. Firstly, drive down net migration numbers. That's a big one.
Uh-huh.
Secondly, deliver on that take back control promise regarding migration, which was, central to the Brexit argument for many.
Right.
And thirdly, promoting integration is cited again, with the English language part being the main tool mentioned for that.
And Yvette Cooper's comment about the previous government.
Ah, yes. She framed it as ending what she called a free market experiment on immigration run by the Tories, implying this is a more managed, controlled approach.
Okay, so those are the goals, but obviously changes this big are going to attract criticism. What are the main concerns being raised?
Well, the economic impact is probably top of the list for many.
Labor shortages,
Exactly. Big worries about making existing shortages worse, especially in sectors like social care.
which relies heavily on migrant workers.
Hugely. Care England called the plan to stop issuing social care visas a crushing blow and even cruel.
And Scotland flagged this too.
Yes, the SMT government there predicted a devastating impact on their care services. It's a major concern.
Are there counter-arguments, though? Does anyone argue these stricter rules might, say, encourage businesses to invest more in training local workers?
That's the kind of argument sometimes put forward, yes, that it could incentivize upskilling the domestic workforce.
Yeah.
However, the immediate reaction from groups like the CBI representing businesses.
They weren't convinced.
No, they expressed concern, pushing back on the idea that businesses just rely on cheap foreign labor, as the PM suggested. They see potential damage.
And universities.
They're worried too. They rely quite heavily on international students and researchers, and they've warned these changes could jeopardize their financial sustainability.
So economic worries are significant. What about the integration argument itself? Could making things stricter actually backfire?
That's a really critical debate. Some argue that setting the English bar so high or making people wait 10 years for security, well, it could actually marginalize people.
Make it harder to feel part of society.
Potentially, yes. If you feel insecure for a decade, or if the language requirement feels like an insurmountable barrier, does that help you integrate? One think tank explicitly said these plans could damage rather than encourage integration.
And the 10-year wait. Charities must be concerned about the impact on individuals and families.
Definitely. They've highlighted the prolonged uncertainty and insecurity this could create for people trying to build lives here. It raises that question. Is integration just about language? Or is it about feeling secure, being involved in the community, understanding the culture? It's surely broader, isn't it?
It feels like it has to be, yeah. And what about the practicalities? You mentioned the settlement period doubling. Is it clear who that applies to?
Well, that's a key point of uncertainty. Florence Shalomi, a Labour MP, asked directly, does this 10-year rule hit people already in the UK on the 5-year track or only new arrivals?
And the answer was...
Yvette Cooper apparently didn't clarify that. So lots of people currently in the system are left wondering, which isn't ideal.
no. And the B2 English, are there enough accessible courses, enough support for people to actually reach that level, especially dependents?
Great questions. What about families where, say, one partner works and the other is primarily looking after children? How do they find the time and resources for intensive language study to reach B2? What about older dependents? It throws up a lot of practical hurdles.
Yeah, that seemed complex to implement fairly. Now, there was also mention of Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights. What's the story there? And maybe just briefly, what is Article 8?
Sure. Article 8 is basically the right to respect for private and family life. It's often relevant in immigration cases, especially deportations, where someone argues removal would breach their family ties in the UK.
Okay.
The government says it wants to clarify Article 8 rules to reduce its use in stopping deportations, particularly in what they call exceptional cases.
But there are concerns about that.
Yes. People like Labour MP Clive Lewis worry that tinkering with Article 8 protections in the immigration context could be a Trojan horse,
Okay.
meaning it could weaken those fundamental rights, not just for migrants, but potentially set a precedent that erodes those protections for everyone in the UK over time. It's a human rights concern.
Right, I see. Okay, let's zoom out a bit to the broader political reaction. How are these plans playing out on the political stage?
Well, the Home Office is putting a number on it. They claim these measures could cut net migration by around 100,000.
But the Conservatives aren't impressed.
Not particularly. James Cleverly, former Home Secretary, basically said our policies would have cut it by 300,000, questioning if Labour's plan goes far enough or is effective enough.
And Starmer himself, is he doubling down?
Seems so. He's pushed back on claims he's softened his stance on deporting foreign criminals and said he'd bring in more measures if needed to get net migration down further.
What about other parties? Reform UK.
Nigel Farage dismissed the white paper not tough enough. He reiterated their stance. Leave the ECHR altogether to really tackle illegal migration. Labour's plan for him doesn't cut it.
And within the Tories, any fallout?
Kemi Badenoch is launching a review of their local election losses, telling people not to write off the Conservatives. And there was that procedural row.
Ah, yes, announcing it to the media first.
Exactly. The Speaker wasn't happy, reprimanded ministers for briefing the media before telling Parliament. Standard procedure, but it shows the tensions.
And there was that statistic about visa applications being down already.
Yeah, Crisfield claimed they're down 40% since the election, attributing it to Tory policies already in place, a point Starmer didn't really engage with publicly.
Interesting. And just finally, on the political context, there was that reference back to 2020.
Yes, a letter surfaced where Starmer apparently advocated for quite different things, closing detention centers, more liberal family reunion, letting asylum seekers work, even votes for foreign nationals.
So quite a contrast to the current proposals.
A stark contrast, yes. And that's definitely being highlighted by critics as evidence of a significant shift in his and the party's position on immigration.
Okay, so let's try and pull the threads together here. We've looked at that controversial island of strangers comment and the, frankly, fierce reaction it provoked. We've detailed the core policy proposals that higher B2 English requirement for almost everyone, and the doubling of the settlement wait time to 10 years.
Yeah, the two big pillars of the plan.
And we've explored the reactions from those supporting the goal of lower migration and better integration to really serious concerns about the economy, about potential exclusion, about fairness, and just the practicalities of it all.
Plus the whole political dimension, with different parties staking out their ground, and those internal party tensions as well.
Right. Which kind of leads us to the final thought we wanted to leave with you, the listener. When you weigh everything up, the push to control borders, the very real needs of the UK economy for workers, the importance of treating people fairly and helping them integrate properly, what do you think is the most critical thing to get right? What's the key factor to balance when trying to create immigration policies that are both effective for the country and, well, just inhumane?
It's a tough balancing act, isn't it? There are no easy answers.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Something for you to think about as this debate continues to unfold.